about. It's a cost of living crisis, it's your bills, the rising prices, everything's getting more expensive. Many of you have written in talking about the difficulties that you've had paying your bills, and they're wondering why we aren't using more of our natural resources. So John from Suffolk said, there are incomprehensible decisions being made importing green, but home production causes climate crisis. So there we are. Paul Hill also says that this energy crisis is getting serious and deadly, especially for older people. So let's throw it over, OK? Because joining us now in the studio to discuss it is the one and only Andy Mair, Chief Operating Officer at the Institute of Economic Affairs. Andy, thank you so much. Well, you heard the man there. He thinks we should be using the resources under our feet. Why aren't we?
Well, he's dead right. That is the only solution we've got to get these things down in cost over the near term. The other being these trade deals that the Prime Minister is going around the world trying to set up. The reason we're not is because for the last 5 to 10 years, there's been an ideological campaign running, really saying leave it in the ground, that the only way to achieve our climate goals is to not use our domestic resources and to lead the world doing that. So we're seeing a huge U-turn going on in the machinery of government at the moment, where the politicians have suddenly realised they've created this cost of living crisis, at least in the energy space. They've now got to do something about it. And none of those decisions are easy or fast.
No, not at all.
And is there massive or any at all over-exaggeration in terms of some of the climate catastrophism that goes on, catastrophising? I noticed you've got polar bears on your tie there, and ice caps. We were told that ice caps were going to melt in a few years, just in the 2010s. They have not melted, as far as I'm aware, not completely anyway. Is there some climate catastrophism going on?
Well, there is, but we also need to be a little bit careful about commenting too much on the climate science, because there are just a range of scenarios. Nobody actually knows what the exact outcome of global warming will be, only that there's a scientific consensus that it is taking place. So, yes, there are some groups like Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil that are telling us that everything is doomed now and it's already too late, which is just unhelpful. I mean, we are clearly going to do stuff and tackle global warming through technological change, and these groups are living in a more ideological space, which is frankly more like an Armageddon cult.
What about things like fracking, though? Talk about that. Some people tell horror stories, don't they? Oh, there'll be earthquakes. There'll be earthquakes, will there?
So the issue on earth movement is something that's common to all heavy industrial activity that takes place and engages with the subsoil. And in fracking's case, it engages about 1 kilometre to 3 kilometres down. So if you cause a significant seismic tremor down there, you will cause some movement on the surface. And the regulatory issue was that the government decided to put in place stricter standards than it implies to any other industry, so construction, mining, and that kind of thing. So really, the issue is, can fracking be done safely? The answer is yes. We've got the record of the US to prove that. Can it be done here? Yes. We're still mostly an empty country, despite what people seem to believe. And can it be done in a way that's not going to impact on people and cause harm and damage? Clearly it can, but the regulatory regime needs to be appropriate and proportionate.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you're a man of many hats, Andy, because you're not just a kind of energy expert. Also, you're big in the economic world as well. And I want you to talk to me a little bit about inflation, because, I don't claim to be an economic expert, and if I did, I'd get seen straight through immediately. But what's going on with this inflation? It's going up and up and up, isn't it? Well,
it's going up at the moment, and it's accurately reflecting what's happening in global supply chains. So energy's at the root of everything. We know in the inflation figures that have just come out at about 7% that energy accounts for somewhere between 1% to 2% of that. But it also accounts for inflation in all of the supply chains, particularly in manufacturing. So if you're producing concrete, steel, epoxy resins, chemicals, these kind of things, then energy is a very large part of your costs. And those are all the things that are needed to make things like, say, wind turbines.
Right.
So we've got global inflation going on in wind turbines, solar panels, nuclear power, everything else. And it's just a horrible circle that will correct itself.
Yeah.
Demand and supply will adjust. The market will work. But only if governments get out of the way and allow it to happen and not try to help too much.
Yeah, Andy, thank you very, very much. And I think from one natty tie-wearing man to another, there's been mixed reviews on this so far, ladies and gents, I must say. But no, I think yours is fantastic. Andy Mair there, of course, COO at the IEA, which is actually quite difficult to say. But yes, there we go.